Hi crafters, it's Kathy from Scrap and Bean coming to you with another Try It Tuesday. This is our last Try It Tuesday for September of 2020. So I've got out a few distress products to try here. Mostly what I want to play with is these embossing glazes, and I've used them a little bit and love them. But I just got myself this brand new color, the Crackling Campfire. And I love it. It's not red, it's not orange, it's just a beautiful fall color. And I love fall colors. So that'll be our second portion, I think. We'll see how it goes. So I'm going to start with playing around with some of these Distress Oxide sprays. So if you've got one or two or three or more colors of those, go ahead and pull those out and play along with me. I'm going to start with some white cardstock. And I'm using some fall colors here. So I'll just spray some of that on my surface. Spiced marmalade I'm using. And I'll put in some red with that, which is fired brick. And I'm just going to kind of touch this lightly here and there, get some specks. That's all I'm doing. Touch it. You can swipe it through there and you'll get a different look than if you just touch it on there. So you can experiment, because we're on Try It Tuesday, and just see which kind of look that you like. I like them both, but I like the fact that you can get different looks with it. So there's quite a bit, and I'm just going to heat set that so that it stays where it is. And then whatever's left on there, I'll just take another cardstock and kind of clean that up. So a little bit on there, so that'll be the beginning of another background. So that was, what did I use? Fired brick and spiced marmalade, I think. I'm not sure. Anyways, we'll take out this mustard seed and pilled paint. Now you don't need this many colors. 2 colors even is fine. 3 is nice, but when you got fall colors, you might as well use them. Now what happens? I like it better just touching it. So I'm getting little pieces on there. And I'm just kind of filling up my background. Try to touch it where it isn't. So I'm going to heat that again. Otherwise they all kind of mix together, and I'd rather have it a little more like layers. And, you know, you could continue to daub some more on there, but I'm going to just experiment with leaving some of it white in the background and see what happens there. And I'm just trying to get this totally dry. Whatever I have down here, I'll just pick up some more with, just clean it up. Okay, got a mess. But you know, okay, so I like that. I'm going to set that aside, and maybe I'll just spray some directly on here just because. Got something started. What would happen? What would happen if I just put another piece on it like that? Okay, that's textured cardstock, so that's probably not the best thing to do. But, okay, we'll do some yellow. Okay, that's lots. I don't like to waste it. I just like to start another background on something else. Okay, so different. But you can see how like just spraying on direct gives you something totally different than spray on your mat and dab it in there. Just gives you a different look with the same material, the same products, which is nice to have a variety available to you. And I want that good and dry. Okay, so I've got a couple different things here, and that one's not really much on there. And then I'm going to leave one plain white so that I have an odd size there, but that's okay. And I do want to add some background there, so I'm going to put in this text stamp. It's called Vintage Note, I believe, from Stampendous. Love that stamp because it's nice cursive writing, and yet it's not words. You don't need to read it. So on this one, I'm going to just do some random. So I'm even going to kind of curl my stamp a little bit here so that I'm just getting portions of it will touch. I kind of would like the stamp where I have white. That's where I'd like the text to show up, I think. So I'm going to put some more ink on there and purposely try to get it to stamp where it's white like that. Okay, so there's some random areas of text. I don't know if you can see that on there very well. And maybe on this one, I'll try to do a decent job. I'm using archival ink because that way I can use water-based products on it and it's not going to smear at all. And this one, maybe I'll just kind of stamp her right in the middle. And I don't care if it comes out good or not. It's just going to be in the background anyways. At least I think that's what's going to happen. That's the plan. So there's one where you got the whole stamp on there. And then this one, I'm going to leave white instead of using the oxide sprays on it. Oh, making a mess. Making a mess, having fun. So I'll put some text on here too. And this one, I'll just do some random stuff. I don't really like that where I can see it was the edge of the stamp. I just kind of want it a little bit more random and not able to read, kind of like that. So there we've got just some random text markings on there. And that was with archival ink, jet black. So what are we going to do with these next? So that's our oxide sprays. Now I want to put on these embossing glazes. So if you've used embossing powders, these are different than the typical embossing powder. So a very common way to use embossing powder is, for instance, if you're stamping a nice sentiment where it's got details and you want to use a very fine detailed embossing powder to make your sentiment nice and solid and stand up a little bit raised and gives you an elegant look. This is different. It's not as fine, I find. It's not quite as fine, but also you can see through it. So it's tinting it this color, but you can still see through it, which is why I put the text on here so that you can still see the text through the glazes, which is, I think, very cool. Makes it different than any embossing glaze that I've used before. So I'm going to use my stencil, and I'm going to use this Emboss It Dauber, which is just a clear, and it's a little bit sticky so that your embossing powder will stick to it nicely. And I'm just daubing it. It's got a dauber top, just like going to bingo. Well, I think they still use those in bingos. I haven't been to those for, geez, probably over 30 years to a bingo. So that's what we used to use. And my stencil just moved, but that's okay. So I'm going to put this through. I'm not putting it through the whole stencil because this design has some little circles and even a branch on there. And I'm really just interested in the fall leaves. That's what I'm going for. So I'm just daubing it on the leaves. And if my dauber goes through some of those little circle backgrounds. So I was filming away and having fun, and then I realized my camera ran out of power. So I don't know what kind of gap we got there, but anyways, so far I have my Emboss It dauber through my stencil onto my card, and I don't know if you can see on there, if you see it at all, shiny spots. It doesn't show up that well, but I'm taking my embossing glaze now and just sprinkling it randomly. You can see where some of it has gone yellow. Maybe not. Maybe that doesn't show up on camera. This color here was, I can't tip it to tell you the color until I get the lid on. Or I'll have more problems than just losing power on the camera. This is fossilized amber. And then my next color, I'm going to open this delicious crackling campfire. That is my new favorite. And pour some of that on there. Almost everywhere. And then save what I didn't use. And my other color I have for my leaves is peeled paint. Because some of these leaves have some green tips on them, right? They haven't totally changed color yet. I'm just going to put it everywhere because I want, wherever I have dauber, I want the powder. I want some kind of color powder on there. All right, so put this away without dumping, except into the jar. And now I'm ready to heat set. That looks like I overlapped a whole bunch of stuff or something. I need my little embossing pouch to put on there first. That would really help. But I have it at the store instead of home, so we're going to go with it. But if you have one of those little embossing powder pouches, rub that all over your surface before you put the embossing powder on. And it just makes your design more perfect impression. You have less stray powders in the backgrounds. I'm mumbling. Okay, so this admittedly is a little bit hard to see where the leaves are and where they're not, because the leaves are multicolors, the background is multicolors. So here's what I'm going to do to change that up. Distress Spray Stain, and I'm hoping that the embossing glaze is going to act like a resist. Ooh, might help if I heated the whole thing. The whole batch in the middle here that's just powder. That would not have worked very well. Okay, I think I have it this time. So now here we go. I know it looks like a disaster, but it's not going to stay that way. I'll soak up that extra stain, and then I'm even going to wipe it off where there's the embossing glaze, which should act like a resist, and it kind of does, not as much as I wanted. So let's put it on here a little darker. Just about time for a new jar of that stuff. I use that color a lot, Vintage Photo. Walnut Stain would work on here too. And there you go. Okay, it's not perfect for sure, but you know what? For a Try It Tuesday, I would use this technique again, but I would use that powder thing in the background. Okay, so there's your leaves, and they stand out a little bit more now. And if you can see through the leaves, you can see some of that text behind there, which is quite cool. I like that idea. So I would ink the edges and just make that into a card. Okay, let's try that with a couple of leaves. Yeah, see, I can feel powders and stuff all over this. I really need my little powder pouch, just because I'm not getting a good clean background there. So be sure you use that embossing little pouch on there first. I don't have mine home with me. Oh, maybe I do. Maybe I do. Oh my gosh, what do you know? Just found it. Okay, so it's one of these little guys. Put that everywhere first. Oh, that makes me so happy because now I have no excuses for it to go bad. Okay, maybe that's not such a good thing. So I'm going to put my leaves right over top of here. And then my dauber. Through all of my leaves or any part of the design that you want to have your embossing powder stick to. And if I don't quite get all of it, that'll just give me an opportunity to show you how to fix it if you miss a piece. I think I've got it all actually. Alrighty, so now I have a choice. Do I do one color embossing powder or do I do multiple colors? Maybe this time I'll just do one. And of course, I have to do my favorite color, Crackling Campfire. Sorry guys, I am just so in love with that color. It's just so perfect for fall. Oh yes. Oh, this little powder pouch. It's just like magic. Okay, see up here where I've got some, maybe you can see on there. There's some loose powder on here. I don't have that everywhere because of putting this everywhere first. It just makes it beautiful. It's just so easy to make crafting make you happy, right? It's the little things. Okay, so lids on that, and I can go ahead and heat this. Okay, I got something in here. I have to turn it because my thumb gets hot. So a little tip. When I'm doing any kind of heat gun use in classes, I get out a clipboard and I use the clipboard to hold the cardstock. And that way your finger doesn't need to be anywhere near it because I don't want anybody to get burnt. The other thing you could do is just hold it with tweezers. However, metal tweezers will transmit the heat too, so it's not always a good thing. Okay, and this one here, I don't know, it's kind of went funny, so I'm going to let that cool down, and then I'm going to redo that leaf, I think. So, because it's a stencil, I can kind of see where I had it placed before, and I could line it up. And I'm going to daub this. Again, that one leaf that didn't come out very well for some reason. There's lots on there. And I'm going to put my powder on there. my embossing glaze powder. And actually, you know what? While I have that out, please don't dump that, Kathy. While I have that out, see where I have kind of a blank area up here? I am just going to add, what could I fit in there? Another bit of a leaf, maybe? Is that going to look funny? I don't think so. I think I can get away with that. Okay, and the way I'm spilling stuff, I better put the lid on. And now I can heat up those last pieces there. And actually, you know, I'm finding that you get more of a high gloss finish if you just heat it to melting and stop. If you keep heating it, it seems like it dulls it down a little bit or changes that high gloss finish. So I like it like that. I like it like that. And for, you know, if I was doing this for a project, I would put, what color do I have here? Walnut stain. Any kind of brown ink. Put that around the edge. Oh yeah, that just finishes it off, right? Now I feel like I have a card front right there. Kind of like that where the text is just in the center. Usually I use it random, so liking that. Now here I wish I would have got some color on there, but you know what? We can fix that, can't we? We know how to do that. If I want some color on there, I'll just put some color on there. There, I got color. It's that easy. Maybe this corner. The problem is you never know when you're really done. Okay, so I have no white left on there, so that works for me. And what was I doing? Brown ink. So since I kind of wiped it off this side here, I'll put it back on. And sometimes when I'm inking my corners or my edges, I like to do the corners a little bit more. Just kind of look like they're a little more worn or something. Yeah, I like that look. A little bit more in the corners. Even if you're putting this down onto a card base, it's fun to do little tears in the edge or just curl up this corner a little bit. In fact, I'll show you. Here's what I use to curl it up. I have this magic bag. It has in it everything I need, it seems like. So here's my little secret tool. It's actually a bamboo skewer. So yes, this is the type you'd put your meat or whatever on it and put it on the barbecue. But it is the perfect size to just curl stuff. So curl my corner. And then if I was going to do that, I would ink that up because who wants the white corner showing? I'd rather have it a brown corner. In fact, I should do that before I roll it. There we go. That's easier. There, and now roll it up. You could use a handleable paintbrush too, or even a pencil, but I find pencils are kind of thick, or that's just nice and thin. And then you get a nice little curl there. Oh, yeah, I want to make that into a project now. What else was I going to show you? Oh, this one here. Okay, I got carried away because I was enjoying that one. So, I feel like I have powder all over the place. So, if we're going to do some embossing or emboss glazing, well, I don't know what you call it. Anyways, we're going to do some embossing on just with white. So if you're not using any of these sprays in the background or any colored spray, we'll see what it's going to look like. And I'll just go with my stencil on there, and I'm going to daub through there. Now my dauber top is a little bit dirty, so it's putting a little bit of color down there, but you know what? That's okay. And again, I'm just going to go for the leaves rather than so many of those little circle things in the background of the stencil. If I get some, it's okay. So when you're using these daubers, there's a little, I don't know what you call it, a valve maybe, underneath here. The first time that you use it, you got to kind of push on there and you can feel it kind of pounce. And that's your valve to release the fluid. When you're using this, you do not squeeze your bottle. Ask me how I know. You just daub it and it should keep coming out, or press down, right? So even on your surface, you don't have to press it with your finger if you don't want. You can just press it on your surface and press down. If you squeeze this, there is the potential for the whole top to pop off, and you'll get way more fluid out of there than you were expecting. If you're tempted to squeeze, squeeze super lightly, because you've been warned. Okay, so I think I have that on there. Other than, I don't really like that branch. Like instead, I rather have a leaf up there. So, you want a leaf? Oh, put a leaf. Perfect. Okay, and I could fill in some more leaves other places, but you could always trim it down too to the size you want. It's not even the right cap. Here we go. So on this one, I think what I would like to do is go back to using a variety of colors. So I'm going to sprinkle a little of this here and there. And we just got a little bit of that fossilized amber going. I wonder, on these videos, can you guys hear my clock ticking? Wow, I have this great big school clock on my wall so close to the camera, and I just realized you can probably hear that ticking away. And that clock is because I sit up until the wee hours of the morning crafting, and Andre thought it was because I didn't know what time it was, so he hung a clock in my craft room. And then he realized that even when I know what time it was, I still like to craft late into the night. So it had nothing to do with not knowing the time. But it's very handy to have a clock. Anyways, okay, and my last color. So now I want to make sure that everything's covered. And you see I've got fingerprints on there, so you know, oh my gosh, look at that. No wonder I got fingerprints. So, but I can trim off little pieces, whatever I need to get rid of, and use the good parts for a project. Okay, so on here, I just want to make sure I have powder everywhere. So that's my last color. I'm just going to put it all over. And where I have these fingerprints, maybe I can get some off. No, I can't, because they're super dirty fingerprints. As you can see, I got ink and everything on there. But that's okay. So we'll preserve some of that. And heat this little buddy up. And you notice when I'm using the heat tool that I lift my project off the surface. And that's so that the air can circulate underneath as well, and it just helps to get it heated up and melted that much quicker, where if I had it laying down, and now it can only heat from the top. But this way there's air flowing both sides of that cardstock. And I'm watching it as I heat. I do hold my heat gun pretty close, which is not necessary to do it that close, but because I do, I can burn my paper really easily. So I'm watching my powder melt and making sure that I just melt it and then move on. I don't want to scorch it. It just needs to melt. It's not like you're baking it or anything. There we go. I don't really like that one. So I might have to do another step to it. But there's 3 different looks with the same products. And maybe we could help it a little bit by at least doing the edges. That helps a little, but I need to re-ink my ink pad, obviously. I should not, and the reason I know is because I should not have to be pressing that hard to get color on there. It should come off quite a bit easier, that color. So that helps a little bit to have the edges inked, but I like this idea the best. But these are interesting. There's some different things that you can do, and you can probably think of even more ideas of what you can do with it. This looks like it'd be a nice fall tag, eh? So there you go. There's some ideas with the Distress Oxide sprays, with the glazes, and I did add in this Vintage Note stamp and a little bit of brown ink around the edges, and then on this one here for the resist effect I used some Distress spray stain. So I hope you try that out and have some fun. You can see these in person when you stop in at Scrap and Bean. Thanks for watching, crafters. Happy crafting.